In the Gospel of John, Jesus was talking to a Pharisee named Nicodemus. And he said to Nicodemus, "No one can see the kingdom of God without being born anew." Nicodemus doesn't quite get it, and he replied, "How can anyone be born after having grown old?" But it's actually not that bad of a question. Sometimes it is hard to imagine rebirth after we've grown old. Sometimes it's hard to imagine rebirth after we become settled in our ways. Sometimes it's hard to imagine rebirth during those dead moments in our lives. But so often, those are exactly the times when the Spirit wants to do something new in us. Years ago, when I lived in Atlanta, I would sometimes help serve breakfast to the homeless at the Open Door Church community. And this one morning after serving breakfast, we sat down to eat, and I happened to sit across from a newly retired gentleman, maybe in his early 70s. As we sat down, I noticed some tears streaming down his cheeks. He said that he had been serving grits that morning, and near the end of the line, a homeless man grabbed his hand, looked him in the eye, and said very sincerely, "Thank you." He said that touched him so deeply. He reflected on this and he said, I can't believe that I've waited 70-something years to start giving back. And another guy sitting at the table turned to him and said, "Yeah, but what a blessing not to have missed it altogether." I remember a friend in seminary telling me that it was in the midst of a painful divorce in her early 50s that she first started hearing God call her to the ministry. She told me it was almost as if God were saying to her, "I know you think this is an end, but there's a whole new chapter ahead." I don't know what you might be going through in your own life, but I pray that you would come to expect that the same Spirit who blew life into the dry bones of Israel, the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead, that same Spirit that blew life into the early church at Pentecost, that same Spirit can and will birth something new, even in you, even in me. May it be so.